Hi everyone, Agnes here, and I've got a wonderful dream job success story from Julia S. from Sydney, Australia. Manifestation number 2 unlocked. Crikey, Agnes, it's so amazing how I'm writing another success story email to you. It feels it's Groundhog Day all over again. It's unbelievable how so many people resonated with my specific person's story and subsequently reached out to me via email and social media. For those of you that haven't heard that story or the interview, I'll put the links down below for you. And it then compelled me to share my next big manifestation with all of these amazing and wonderful viewers on your channel. So, in our previous interview, I mentioned that I was in the process of manifesting a new job. My previous contract at my first professional job out of university finished in December of 2020. And although I attempted to manifest a permanent role at this job, it unfortunately did not come to fruition. I was extremely saddened to leave, and so were my colleagues, but I vowed that I was going to attract a new job in my industry and share my success story with you in its due time, which has now led me to this moment. In the space of 5 months, I have successfully attracted a new job in a nationwide company, which is directly in my industry, so much closer to home and paying way more money than the previous role and the most I have ever made in my life. Obviously, you, Agnes, were present throughout this journey while you were here in Australia, but for the viewer's sake, I would like to give a little background story and context about the line of work that I am in, and also put these events on a timeline. Before discovering LOA in April of 2019, I graduated with a design degree at university, and the entirety of that year was spent looking for a job. With no prior experience and only just the degree under my belt, I had the belief that it was going to be super difficult to enter the design industry. Applying for 100+ jobs, getting rejected so many times and having some unsuccessful interviews was super frustrating in the process. But I still had a glimmer of hope that someone was going to take me in. Meanwhile, while this was all going on in the background, I still had my little supermarket job at Coles and also ended up traveling overseas 4 times that year. Now looking back, what a blessing in disguise that turned out to be. I even got a job offer in August of 2019 for a small learning design agency, but something in my gut told me that it wasn't the right job, and after booking a trip to Vietnam in the same month, they needed someone to start immediately. And they retracted the offer. Despite my dad's disappointment that I did not take the job, I knew something better was going to come along. I got to a point where I was so frustrated from being unsuccessful, and I decided to stop applying for jobs and to let it all go for a little while. Then, in October of 2019, I made it to the assessment day for a graduate program for a worldwide professional services company. I did very little prep for the event and decided that I was just going to be myself. A week later, I found out that I had gotten the job. Even though the role was not design related, I was happy that I was going to be at least getting my foot in the door. The catch? The starting date was June 2020. 8 months later, I was like, WTF. What am I going to do for 8 months? But shortly after, I was invited to attend another assessment day for another graduate program. This time it was female targeted for an Australian world sports media company. Out of the hundreds of applicants, I was the one of 12 that were selected, and I decided to attend and see what happens. Although I didn't get the job there, which I was totally okay with since I had accepted the other job, the HR manager contacted me and said that there was another 3-month contract role within the company that perfectly matches my qualifications. She asked me if I was interested and that she would set me up with an interview. Thankfully, this boss and her 2 colleagues saw my positive attitude and eagerness to learn because I was hired. The contract was to run from January 2020 to April 2020, which was, at the time, perfect because I had the other job at the professional services company to start in June of 2020. The jobs wouldn't cross over. I was so glad that I waited nearly a year for the job. Even though the office was a bit far to travel to from my home, everyone in the workplace was so welcoming and friendly, and my boss was easygoing, and I was going to be working on a secret project, a new streaming service that was to be released in the market later in 2020. Then the dreaded coronavirus hit. My place of employment was severely affected due to the lack of sporting events, and we were all ordered to work from home full-time indefinitely in March of 2020. Some of the designers, unfortunately, were stood down due to this, and I was certain that I was being let go because of my contract. Logically, it made sense. Thankfully, I didn't get stood down, and usually the business extends contracts, but this was all up in the air and everything was uncertain. In April of 2020, after Easter, my boss told me that HR could only extend me until the end of June, which was good news. Then the other job at the professional services company contacted me and informed me that because of the pandemic, they couldn't have us graduates start in June, and this would be pushed back to December of 2020. Another 6 more months. How annoying. As the weeks went by, I decided that if I was offered a permanent role, that I would stay there and not go to the other employer. I loved my job, the people I worked with, and the work that I was doing, and I was working from home 5 days a week. Why change it if I was enjoying it there? I knew that my boss had every intention to convert me into a permanent team member, but there wasn't much she could do and had to wait for the advice of HR. It was now June 2020, and that was when I had stumbled across LOA and your channel. I believed that I was going to be made permanent in due time because I knew that I was doing a good job and that I fit in well with the team. I knew my employer would be lucky to have me. I used the scripting technique, that didn't come out right, scripting technique to reinforce this notion. I read it a few times a week and then just left it at that. I kept the faith and believed. I checked my emails the morning of my supposed last day, and I got an email from HR the night before stating that my contract was going to be extended for another 3 more months. Woohoo! It was still a step forward. I danced, smiled, and cheered and said, "Thank you, universe." After that, the other job gave me the option to commence my employment with them in June 2021, which I ended up opting to do as I was hoping that the permanent role at the sports media company would come through. I did end up getting another 3-month extension before my contract was unable to be renewed. My employment finished just before Christmas last year. Although it wasn't what I wanted, and with this LOA knowledge in mind, I knew I could definitely attract a new job. Although I still had the non-design job lined up for June 2021, I wanted something that was in my industry and to build upon the experience that I had already acquired. I began the whole tedious process of applying again. This time I had 1 year professional experience and a better portfolio to back me up. Due to the aftermath of the coronavirus, there were not many jobs that had come out. I applied for 50 plus jobs, and again, it was rejection email after rejection email. It was so frustrating and gut-wrenching, and I shrugged my shoulders and said, whatever. I decided to enjoy the summer and the warm weather we had in Sydney to do whatever shifts I was getting at my trusty supermarket job, and I even went away on a small trip with my boyfriend, the one that I re-attracted in my previous story, and we ended up spending a lot more time together during this period since we both weren't working full-time, and we were both so grateful and appreciative of this. I wrote another general job script, and I read it a few times before putting it away and completely forgetting about it. For several months, I constantly affirmed in the shower, I am good enough. I am chosen. Any employer would be lucky to have me. The new job is coming. I did your job meditation sporadically as well. She's put the link here, so I'll put it down below for those of you that would like to know what it is. One night I visited my old childhood speech therapist, who I still see every few months, and I was telling her about my job situation and how I knew the job was coming soon. I knew it was coming soon. I said to her that I wasn't too fussed about the company and only cared about a closer job location, great salary, and a good boss and colleagues with amazing benefits. Not even 1 hour later, I got a call from a new luxury accommodation and entertainment venue asking me if I was available for a telephone interview. I was so excited, and I knew it was a step closer to fulfilling my job manifestation. I got the sense to stop applying for jobs, and it was now the waiting game. 2 weeks later, I progressed to the virtual interview with the HR manager and the head of design, who are both from Melbourne. In the middle of the interview, the head of design says, "Even though we interviewed some people before you and have some after you, I just want to tell you that you really present yourself very well and that you are very well spoken and articulate. You should be proud of yourself for someone your age." I could tell that she really liked me. The interview went really, really well. To cut a long story short, after going through background check, police, reference checks, 1 month later I got the job. I was so happy and relieved that I finally did it. The job was finally here. This meant I had to tell the other company I could no longer start the job. Since I had accepted the new job, paying 25% more than my previous job from my last year, is right in my field of design and is much shorter commute from home. Between jobs, this process took 5 months from ending the previous job to starting the new one. The moral of this story, guys, is that time doesn't matter. Let the universe take its time to celebrate the desired outcome for you. Be okay with where you are at this present moment now. Present day, right now, in big letters. Be grateful for what you have, whether it's enjoying the sun, going for a walk, spending time with your loved ones and friends. Who knows when you will next get to have time off? I had the whole summer off to recharge and spend time with my beloved boyfriend, and for me, that was one thing that I was grateful and appreciative for. Be that confident, smart, badass human being that any employer would be lucky to have you. Lots of love, everyone, and go out and attract that job. Julia. Lovely, Julia. Yes, I did get to be a part of that because we saw each other a few times and, talked about all of this. And it was a wonderful, wonderful progression, and very proud of you. Well done. For those of you that have not heard Julia's SP story and the interview that we did, the links will be down below with her details. And I will put the dream job success stories as well as meditations playlist for those of you that really want to improve this area in your own lives. And as always, I will see you from here in London, in the little backyard, and in the next YouTube. Lots of love.